بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلائق الله أجمعين حبيب إله العالمين المصطفى الأمين أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين مهدي هذه الأمة وخاتم الأئمة وطاووس أهل الجنة الحجة بن الحسن عسكري روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا يحيى خذ الكتاب بقوة وآتيناه الحكم صبيا. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
My condolences to you, brothers and sisters, for our affliction of our Imam, Aba Ja'far Mohammad ibn Ali al-Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salam. One of the things that any historian, anyone who read about the life of Imam Al-Jawad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi notices immediately that how young he was when he was appointed as the Imam of the Shia. This wasn't the first time in history to happen. It happened many times. And as an example, Yahya ala nabiyina wa alihi afdal salatu wassalam. Isa ibn Maryam ala nabiyina wa alihi afdal salatu wassalam. And with this stirred up a kind of debate between the Shia themselves. Usually people, even nowadays, they have that kind of mentality that a scholar should be someone who's old, with gray beard, and at least 70 years of age. So someone can consider him as a scholar, and especially in religion, especially in that. But there was, even with the scholarly figures, some people who became mujtahid while very young, like any other field as well. It's nothing very strange. There is some field like it's not unheard of. Someone, he's a doctor while he's like in his teen years. He's genius, so it's nothing strange. But that's in the field of medicine, in one field. But to actually claim that you know it all, right? And you are appointed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are fulfilling the promise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam when he said that my lineage and the Imams are 12s. That's something that people not gonna accept immediately. And the Shia, I was having a chat a few nights ago with a few brothers in regarding of some people who claimed like something, and there was no one to answer and to find an answer to their claim. I said, that's ridiculous. Shia don't immediately accept something. That was their kind of way. Even back then with the Imam, like they know he's a son of Imam. Of course, there were few people who start bringing doubts into people's mind in regard of imamah of Imam al-Rida, not Imam al-Jawad, of Imam al-Rida himself. Because Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, when he received the imamah, and those people had wealth and accumulated money, that it was just as a safeguard and safekeeping. People who gave their zakat, their khumus, and for them to take it for themselves, said, Imam Musa al-Kadhim was the last one, and supported their claim. Who? The people who wanted this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam to be severed in regards of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Because even with the Sunni school of thought, says that the emirs of Quraysh, the emirs are after me 12. All of them are from Quraysh. That's from Sunni school of thought, which we haven't found an answer from them. Okay, name the 12 emir, the prince of Quraysh, right after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They can't. Anyway, so with this, people started to wonder. And there was a debate asking, we need to test this, his claim. They came to Imam Salamullah alayh and start throwing like different kind of question. Sometimes someone claims to be expert in one field, right? But if there's like people who are already scholars, right? And come and start debating a kid. Imam Salawatullah Salam alayhi, I cannot say that he was a kid, but his age was very young, right? When Imam Salamullah alayhi became Imam, he was 8 years of age. Imagine, 8. Just 8. And 17 years he had the Imamah. 17 years, right? So his entire life, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, was just 25 years on this earth. So at the beginning they had all these kind of doubts, and they said that who said, and even when Ma'mun, to quiet things down, and I mentioned this before, he's one of the most wretched and wicked and smartest and geniuses of Bani al-Abbas altogether. Like truly, if you want to depict a villain of nowadays, like in these characters in Marvel and all these DC and all these characters, right? They say like, who is the greatest villain of all time? So regarding Bani al-Abbas, it's Ma'mun al-Abbasi. So this person, he brought the Imam and said that I want to give my daughter to him. Bani al-Abbas, again, they said, like, we didn't believe that his father died. Of course, he killed him, right? But to bring him again in the court, so let us teach him first. Let him teach him. That's what they do usually with the young kings who inherited the throne. It happened in Iraq, up until recently, not recent, like recent history, I think it was like in the 60s, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. The king of Iraq, Faisal, was a very young man. Every affair, all the affairs of the kingdom was under his uncle, Abdul-Ilah. He was the one who rules, who was the actual ruler. It wasn't his nephew. Anyway, so they wanted this. Ma'mun, he knew better. He knew, first of all, he needed to quiet things down on the Shia front. He didn't want the uprising again. I explained that before in regard of Imam Rida salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. And he didn't want that uprising to happen again. So he said that, you know what, I will marry my daughter. We didn't do it. How can I kill someone who is, first of all, who was married to my daughter, because Imam Rida married the daughter Ma'mun first. And now I'm giving my daughter to his son. That's one of the things as well, how little they thought of their daughters and female. Anyway, So he brought Imam Salamullah alayhi in the court, and brought Yahya ibn Aktham, said like, test him. Yahya ibn Aktham, I explained this many times before in regard of this, he brought a question, a ruling, that is one of the most complicated one in Islam and Sharia. And that's in regard of Hajj. First of all, like whoever goes now and study regard of Hajj and the rulings in regard of Hajj, there's a lot of branched out, a lot. First. Second is a lot of people haven't been to Hajj. So they know that in theory. A person who goes, there was this one of the marja who went to Hajj and says, where's my mutawaf, where's my guide? You are a marja, right? What do you need a guide for? I said, I know it in theory. I want someone who actually been here to teach me where are the places, and for me to test the theory and the rulings that I already have. Otherwise, it's like very hard. Even with the people who in the seminary, when they study in regards of Hajj, they get a lot of confusion because they've never been there. If they've been, yeah, it's going to be easier for them. Anyway, so they brought Yahya ibn Aktham, and he was the head of the judiciary system, and he was Qadi al-Qubat. He was the smartest people in the kingdom in regards like taking the side of, they all agreed upon this person, and he started asking Imam Al-Jawad this question, like if someone killed, hunted or killed an animal in the while in Hajj. So Imam Salamullah alayhi started branching that out for him. So was he a muhrim or not? Was he first time or second time? Was he inside the haram or outside the haram? He started asking him all these questions. He couldn't even said, I don't know. Then said, okay, Yabna Rasulillah, right? So give him the answer. Sometimes people ask, give the answer to a question by a question, but they don't know the answer to that question itself. Imam Salamullah alayhi showed to everyone else that how knowledgeable he is at that young age. One day, a person who was Zaydi, Imam had to deal with the Waqifis as well. The Waqifi who said that Imam Musa al-Kadhim is the last Imam, and Imam Zayn al-Abidin, you know, they still exist. They are still in some part of Yemen as well. They believe until Imam Zayn al-Abidin, and they believe in Zayd ibn Ali. Who is Zayd ibn Ali? My ancestor, salawatullahi wa salamu ala a'immat ahl bayt alayhim salam, right? The Hussainis are usually from the lineage of Zayd ibn Ali. Zayd ibn Ali, and after him Yahya ibn Zayd, and after him I think Zayd ibn Ali again. There's a lot of similarity. They give like their sons the same name, Yahya Zayd, Yahya Zayd. He rebelled against the rulers. I think it was Bani Umayyah, yes. And he was killed, martyred, crucified, then buried, then dug up, then burned, and like all this. So they believe in the people who rebel, right? So they even glorify Sayyid Khomeini rahmatullah alayh, because they consider him as a rebellion as well. So anyone who rebels, they love him, right? So he was this person in Baghdad. All of a sudden, heard this like people like running, and people are calling up a name, and he started wondering who are you referring to? He said Ibn Rida came. Ibn Rida came. Ibn Rida, Ibn al-Imam Rida, Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam. Inshallah, will be the day that we will run and say Imam al-Zaman Ajjallah ta'ala al-Faraj al-Sharif came. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So this person, he said that by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, I want to look at him. So he went. And saw Imam on a mule, and he said, may Allah curse be upon the Imamis who say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made mandatory to follow this person. Right? You saw a young kid on a mule, right? Even with like the maximum age of the Imam Salamullah alayhi, 25, right? Very young. So, and while he was looking at the Imam Salamullah alayhi, Imam looked at him. And he said that, he said his name. His name was Qasim ibn Abd al-Rahman. He recited this ayah. أبشر منا واحد نتبع إنا إذن لفي ضلال وسعر. Is it like one of people like us we follow? We are then misguided, right? Paraphrasing, of course, with the interpretation of the verse. So he was in awe, and he was surprised that Imam replied with his, like he just had this thought in his mind. And he said, I told myself, like he reads my thought. Wallahi innahu sahir, sahirun wallah. That he's a sorcerer. Imam Salamullah alayhi replied to him then. Said, ألقي الذكر عليه من بيننا بل هو كذاب أشر. Right? Imam Salamullah alayhi said the verse that they accused the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam that he's a liar and he's not bringing the revelation. And he said that's it. That's it for me. And I believed in the imamah of Imam Al-Jawad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, and he's truly been appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
The Imam Salamullah alayhi life was hard in many aspects. First of all, remember that Imam Salamullah alayhi was orphaned. You're not going to be orphaned if you are reach a certain age. I think there's a narration in that regard. لا رضاع بعد فطام ولا يتم بعد بلوغ. If you come to age, right, you're not going to be named orphan anymore. Like I've seen some people who are like 50, 60 years, I'm orphan. Like, why? Like my father died recently. Okay, I mean, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on all mu'minin and mu'minat. But after a certain age, you're not going to be considered as orphan as well. Anyway, but again, all the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib now are orphaned with the occultation and the not seeing their Imam Ajallah Ta'ala Farajul Sharif. So Imam Salamullah alayhi didn't, as we all know, didn't accompany his father to Maru, to Tus, nowadays Mashhad al-Rida alayhi salam, and he stayed in Medina, back in Medina. I think Imam Salamullah alayhi was given Imam Al-Jawad, Mohammad, when he was about 47 years of age, and he passed away. He was martyred when he was 55, right? And he stayed in Maru, I think, for 3 or 4 years. So Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, that is 7 and 8 years, right? Inshallah, my calculation is correct with this. And so Imam Salamullah alayhi leaving his son for 3 to 4 years. So either he was 5 or 4 years of age when Imam al-Rida left Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam. But that's the thing. Imam al-Rida didn't leave even the upbringing of Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam. See, one of the things that they had this communication with each other, like sending him letter and receiving letter from him. So, and asking about his son as well. This is something that we can learn from. How? Is first of all, is that even when you're away from your son, or your son is away from you, you still have to what? To communicate, to ask what's going on with him, how he's living, how he's not. Sometimes I've seen people, right, especially in like Western kind of culture. You ask them, okay, where are your kids? I don't know. They're somewhere, maybe in Australia, maybe in Europe. I don't know. Like when they got old, retired, and these people like left. And for the kids as well, it goes both way, right? And for the kids, but of course, the adults need to be the man with the initiative. So he asked, and in one of his letters to Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, he said that I heard that some of the people who are around you are stingy, and they take you from the not the main door of your place, they take you from the back door. And he said, by my right over you, بِحَقِّي عَلَيْكَ. Allahu Akbar. Imam first has what? Authority over everyone, and a father, authority over his son. بِحَقِّي عَلَيْكَ إِلَّا خَرَجْتَ مِنَ الْبَابِ الْكَبِيرِ. Like you go out from the main door. One of the titles of Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, what it is, like it's among people. Can someone answer me here? What's one of the titles, especially people from Iraq and from Kadhimiyya, they know this. One of the title of Imam Al-Jawad, and there's even a door named after this. It's Imam Al-Jawad, not Imam Al-Kadhim. Salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. You know that they are buried next to each other, the grandson and the grandfather. One of the, I think I've given already the hints of the name of Imam Al-Jawad is Babul Murad. Babul Murad. Salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. What's Babul Murad mean? I got like one and one put together, and makes perfect sense. First of all, like you see, it's the connection between what Imam al-Rida told his son and what his son actually did, Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. So Imam al-Jawad, one of the things is it's a lesson to us as well. One day they said Amir al-Mu'mineen ordered 5 loads of dates to be given to someone. And someone with Amir al-Mu'mineen, he said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, 1 load should be suffice. He didn't even ask you. He didn't even ask you for it. So 1 load of dates should be suffice. Amir al-Mu'mineen looked at him. Salawatullah wa salam alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. One of the things that we don't talk about, the generosity of Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salam alayhi. Right? And Amir al-Mu'mineen looked at him. He said, لا كثر الله في المؤمنين من أمثالك. Like, may Allah not increase in the mu'mins like yours. I give, أعطي أنا وتبخل أنت. I give and you are stingy. Brothers and sisters, you will encounter someone like that. One day, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salam alayhi, inshallah, I'm not going to be losing my point of where I left it, so it's Bab al-Murad. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was giving someone asked him, and he was giving him. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, while giving it to him, says, خُذْهَا وَأَنَا عَلِي. Right? And the people around him said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib. You usually say this when you want to strike someone in a battle and kill him. And strike of Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, didn't miss. Like if he hits someone, this guy gonna be going to hell, definitely. Right? So I said, like you say that, خُذْهَا وَأَنَا عَلِي. Why do you say this now? He says, because Shaitan came. I said, like he wanted to grab my hand, don't give him that. And I mean, when he wanted to teach his companions a lesson. Sometimes someone comes and grab your hand. No, don't give him. Oh, don't give him that much. Sometimes like it's sugar coated. It says something else, right? It says give him, but not too much. No, why not? Why not? So Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi said, he doesn't ask me. This person haven't asked me. And if he asked me, it was me giving just like the price of what he asked. Why? Because when someone shame himself by asking someone something like that, one of the things that say you don't put your hands up but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes you see some poor man or ladies asking people and they put their hands out. Don't. I mean, or like actually tell them, inshallah, none of you are going to become like that. But what we do is what we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You put your hands just to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So, says that this man, he's a mu'min. He gonna lose a face that he puts down for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm not gonna even, it's not gonna be even compensation with what I'm giving him. So Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, going back to Bab al-Murad, Imam Al-Jawad salawatullah salam alayhi, with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Imam Al-Rida alayhi salam teaches a lesson, like, you go out and you give people as much as, like, someone came to Imam Al-Jawad and told him that, give me as much as your generosity. Imam Al-Jawad said, I can't give you as much as my generosity. His generosity is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His title is Jawad. What we say about, what does Jawad mean? Mean generous. Inshallah, everyone here becomes a millionaire. Because one of the things is, when you ask him, they say, Imam Al-Jawad, it's not like some Imams are special in one field and not in other, but no, Imam Al-Jawad is known as well to be generous in regard of this world. In regard of this world. So inshallah, all the one who are listening and are sitting here becomes a millionaire by the barakah of Imam Al-Jawad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, his father told him and ordered him to, and not just to give the people there, to give his relatives, his uncles, his aunties, right? And that person who said that, give me as much as your generosity, said, I can't. Said, he then noticed that. He rephrased it, said, give me as much as I want or I deserve. Imam Al-Jawad said, now I can. So, one of the things is, here teaches us how a father needs to upbring his kid. Imam Al-Jawad, if I'm not mistaken, yes, Imam Al-Jawad says in hadith, الحوائج تطلب بالرجاء وهي تنزل بالقضاء والعافية أحسن العطاء. That حوائج will be granted by you when you're asking, right? So, and it will come down by the order and qada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the best of things that we need to ask is what? Afiyah, right? Afiyah in deen and dunya, both, right? Anyway, so Imam Al-Jawad salawatullah salam alayhi, Imam Al-Rida alayhi salam, he was teaching us a lesson as well in how to upbring our kids. Let me give that as an example. I remember, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the opportunity to all mu'mineen and mu'minat to go to Hajj. I was with one of the mu'mineen in Hajj. He said, I went to Hajj when I was very young. And we went from Karbala by bus back then, right? Wasn't all this restriction and all that. And so we went, no visas, no, like it was really long time ago. And it was dangerous road as well. Sometimes they go and never come back. A lot of people went and never came back for many reasons. One was like disease, accidents, so a lot of things. And that's why one of the things is that they used to put down their will and go, like say farewell to their family. And so he said that my father had few advices to me. Said to me, "Oh son, don't share your food with everyone, or you go hungry." Right? And if the bus gets stuck in the sand, no roads, like in the sand, so maybe come down from the bus so they don't criticize you, but don't really push, or you get tired, or you get weak. And when you're there in Hajj, don't go help this and this guy. Do your things and like finish up with your Hajj. It was out of love, as he thought. So this person said to me that, when I went, I saw everyone shares his food. I keep my food to myself. No, I did the opposite. I shared with my ration with everyone else as well. When the bus got stuck in a sand, I saw even that old lady is pushing, and I'm a young man. Why am I not pushing like everyone else? I start pushing as well. And when I went to Hajj, he said, we had this poor man who was blind. He was poor and blind, right? And the guy in the Hamla, who was leading the caravan, he took him as a charity. He said, like, do you have money? He said, no, he was poor. He was blind and poor in Karbala, right? I said, like, let me take you to Hajj. And he said, everyone did his amal, and this guy was didn't have any guide. So he said, I helped him for him to do his amal. And when he finished, so I wanted to tell you the result of this. So this person who was telling me the story, he probably until now went more than 30 times to Hajj because of the dua of the people he was with. And not just that, because of tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Still remember one of the things that he said that when we finished and with this blind man to get out of his ihram, he said that we don't know that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our amal or not. He said he started weeping and his tears came down on his cheeks and said that with all of this and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't accept. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is much more merciful and compassionate than he sees us in this situation and in this status and doesn't accept us. So one of the things is to teach your kids to help others. Teach your kids to be a helpful person and a person that people actually go to when they need something. Because the thawab of this is going to be for you as well. Imam As-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi says in a hadith, Man sa'a fi hajati akhihi al-Muslim talaba wajhi Allah talaban li wajhi Allah wa talaba wajhi Allah كتب الله عز وجل له ألف حسنة. Allahu Akbar. That if someone, right, so a Muslim asks you something, right, and you go whether this thing will get done or not, whether you can do it or not, you go and ask and do something. He says, if you do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you alf mean how much? Million. 1 million hasana. There's a hadith as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you even if you can't. Like you go and do it, but you didn't succeed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for this. And Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in a hadith, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Prepare yourself for this. Truly, prepare yourself for this hadith. Right? And teach it to your kids and others. Man sa'a fi hajati akhihi al-mu'min. Whoever he goes to do what his mu'min brother asks him. Of course, this, not ask him. من سعى في حاجة. That's a difference. Sometimes someone comes and asks you, now I have to do it. Sometimes no. Some people go and look if someone needs help or not, without them even asking. That's a different level. That's a different level. Like, you go and ask, who needs my help? I can help. Like, sometimes, like, people conceal what they can do. Men conceal their money, and ladies conceal their age, right? And people with abilities to do something usually conceal what they can do. That's how people are. Like, if he knows someone, right? I don't want every time I want to use him for big thing. Every one of those things is a big thing. Why? Prepare yourself with what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says here. فَكَأَنَّمَا. It's like, the past, like 25th of Dhul Qa'dah was Dahw al-Ard, right? The fasting will equivalent to 100 years, right, of ibadah, okay? And 60 years of fasting, and some hadith more, some hadith less. And this hadith says, فَكَأَنَّمَا عَبَدَ اللَّهَ تِسْعَةَ آلَافَ سَنَةً. It's like he worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 9,000 years. صائما, not just worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala normally. صائما نهاره قائما ليلا. Like, it's like he's fasting during his days and worshipping and standing to pray during the nights for 9,000 years. That's how much it's worth. I will conclude with this hadith in regard of this matter. Imam Sadiq salawatullah salam alayhi says, من كان في حاجة أخيه المؤمن المسلم كان الله في حاجته ما كان في حاجة أخيه. You do things for your mu'min brother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do something for you in return. So, it's من نعم الله عليكم حوائج الناس إليكم. It's one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounties. If people knock on your door, if people call you, if people need you, it's one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon you. If you don't do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take it from you and give it to someone else. That's one of the things that Imam Rida salawatullahi wa salam alayhi in his letter teaching us in regards of our kids. Be helpful, a member of the society. The second thing, صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in a hadith, حق الولد على ولده أن يحسن اسمه وأدبه ويضعه موضعا حسنا. I've said this hadith a couple of times at least, that one of the rights from the son over his parent is to his name and to his upbringing. Right? It's one of the things that a father needs to do for his kids, not just to provide them with their clothing and with their shelter and food, no, but their upbringing. Some people, and a lot of people unfortunately, lack in this department. Like, for them, it's not important what he goes out with. It's important what he dresses when he goes out, how he looks when he goes out. Not who is his friend with, but is he better than that friend or not? Can he be proud of how the way he smells, dress, and all that? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says one of the rights, it's his upbringing. And يضعه موضعا حسنا. Of course, to an extent. Because, why? Because there's three stages. Three stages in regards of the kid's upbringing. One is when he's little, 7. Until 7, says in the hadith, Syed, Amir, different words for the same meaning, that he's like a prince. Right? He deal with him like that. I maybe mentioned this hadith before. Beautiful hadith that don't hit your kids, your little ones. You know, I remember watching this ad on TV that don't shake your babies. Like, it doesn't need to be an ad even. What is this? Should be a given. Like, don't shake your baby. You're gonna damage their brains because they're so fragile. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says something much more better and much, of course, is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Says that don't hit your little kids, even if you're upset. You know, he's tired from work and all that. Why? Because they're crying. It's like saying La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Would you cry? Would you hit a kid if he says La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah? I think one of my kids, he's doing adhan. He's shouted a lot, right? So, like, you don't hit your kids, your little ones. It's like that. So he's fragile. This 7 years, he's a prince. Then he says the next 7 years, adibhu sab'a. That's until he's 14. It's very crucial and important. And after that, you need to again how to deal with him. وَسَبْعًا وَزِيرٌ. 7 years as what? You consult him. Wazir mean here, what the wazir minister's job is to the king. It's what to get consulting from him. And there's another riwayah says like sadiq, friend, befriend him. Subhanallah, when I see the narration regarding how to bring up your kids. For example, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam putting Rasulullah, imagine, like you don't see that a marja' does that, right? If you see that, it's like something, maybe they do that, but in private. But Rasulullah is teaching us. He was putting Imam Hassan and Hussein on his back, right? Imagine walking among the people. Rasulullah putting Imam Hassan and Hussein on his back. Ni'mal jamalu jamalukuma. What a be like the best camel is your camel. That means him. And who are you? And the best camel riders are you. Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. Man kana ladayhi sabi falyatasaba. Right? If you have a kid, to be a kid like him with him. Don't be like all, uptight. No. A kid's gonna be kid. You need to treat him like that. I remember once a brother told me that my father never told me that he loves me. I know that he did, right? But he never expressed his love to me. Why not? Once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was kissing Imam, one of the maybe Imam Hassan or Imam Hussein. Someone was sitting next to Rasulullah, said, "I have like 9 kids, never kissed one of any of them." Says Rasulullah, paraphrasing with this, says, "What am I gonna do with someone that Allah subhanahu wa taala took the mercy out of his heart, compassion out of his heart?" He teaches the mu'mineen, the Muslimin, compassion with your kids. And not just that, no. For a certain age, you need to be firm. To upbring them and to take care of their upbringing. And Imam Rida salawatullahi wasalam alayhi in this letter, again, shows us that he is communicating with his very young and little boy. Imam Al-Jawad salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi. Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam married after Abul Hasan, and that is the mother of Imam Ali al-Hadi salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. And that made al-Fadl, who was barren and never produced any offspring to the Imam salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, very jealous. Imam lived with, during the time of his father, and the Imamah for 15 years. They said 15 of that years was with Ma'mun al-Abbasi alayhi la'inullah, and 2 of those years with that illiterate, stupid, wretched man, Mu'tasim al-Abbasi. Mu'tasim was the opposite of his predecessor. So one day, they say one of the reasons behind Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi assassination, it was Ibn Abi Dawood, if I'm not mistaken, was proven wrong by the Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi in the court of Mu'tasim when they asked him where and what's the ruling in regard of someone who stole something not out of need, and what's the punishment for it, where to cut the hands from. And Imam Salamullah alayhi answered that with the verse of Quran, in al-masajidillah. That means that you cut the fingers, not the hand and not the arm. So he was upset that shown to everyone else, and now even to the history, that he wasn't up to that task, and he starts plotting again against Imam and said to Mu'tasim to get rid of him. So he consulted Ja'far ibn al-Ma'mun in that regard, and they decided to kill the Imam salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi through putting poison in his food by the hand of his wife al-Fadl. Imam salamullahi alayhi, they said he was fasting. He came to his house to break his fast. That wretched lady gave to Imam alayhi salam that poisoned food, and Imam broke his fast. And when he did that, she started crying. That doesn't mean that, of course, she will be forgiven. It was like Umar ibn Sa'd alayhi la'anullah cried for Abu Abdullah, not for Abu Abdullah, cried when Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam said, "Ayuqtalu Abu Abdullah wa anta tanzur." And Imam Salamullahi alayhi said, "May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala afflict you with something that you will spend all your wealth, because they promised her with a big wealth, and this will not be cured." And Imam Salamullah alayhi, he was locked in his room alone, like his grandfather Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. And Imam Salamullahi alayhi, he laid on his back, he faced Qibla, he put his hand to his side, his forehead starts sweating. He said, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah." His soul left his body. Rahamallah man nada wa imama wa وإمامه وإمامه وغريبه وسيده. After a few days, the Shia start coming to his house asking for the Imam alayhi salam. Then his body was revealed to the people. They say the people of Baghdad, they gathered, the Shia gathered, crying, weeping for Aba Ja'far alayhi salam. They said when they carried his body, they started throwing flowers on his body, on his janazah. Even to an extent, they start calling that place Suq al-Rayahin. But the body of Gharib Karbala alayhi salam was covered with stone, with broken arrows, until Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam came looking for the body of Sayyid al-Shuhada. She was led to that body with the scent of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. She saw that pile, under that pile she uncovered that crushed body of Sayyid al-Shuhada, that headless body of Sayyid al-Shuhada. And she said, أنت ابن أخي, أنت ابن والدي, أنت ابن أمي. And she then carefully took the body, she put her hands under the body of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Carefully, why carefully? Because he was cut to pieces. And she lifted a little bit and said, Allahumma taqabbal hadha al-qurban min ali Muhammad. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم إنا نسألك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب والأبصار. اللهم عجل في فرج صاحب العصر والزمان. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring us back our Imam alayhi salam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let us be one of the people who accompany him and his companion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlighten our mind and our heart with the thoughts and the light of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our lineage on the path of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad alayhim as-salam until the day of judgment. Innahu waliyut tawfiq. And we recite the ayah sharifa 5 times for the qada al-hawa'ij, for the fast inshallah recovery of all mu'mineen and mu'minat. A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Amman yujibu al-mudtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه